All righty, you dead set legends. What is going on? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Ready Bang, the #1 arm wrestling live stream in the world. I'm your host, the Aussie ArmWrestler, and before I introduce my massive guest, he's not only massive by size, but what he has done for the sport of arm wrestling is absolutely massive. I just got to thank a few people, and starting off with Old School Labs. Yes, you did see them at good old East versus West, one of the main sponsors there, and they got on the phone early days and went, Aussie ArmWrestler, we got a sponsor here. 15% off, code word BANG. Get all their products there, help them out, and go from there. And, of course, all my Patreon and YouTube bangers. You all know for as little as 50 cents a week, you can help out the Aussie ArmWrestler, and every single dollar that is made from that comes straight back into the channel. And I appreciate each and every one of you that is on that list. And the list just keeps going because I'm blown away by the support. And can everyone give a ready bang in the chat whilst we are here? Now, let me introduce my guest. He is the big boss man. This is the guy that is bringing arm wrestling around the world. He is the CEO of CoreSports, and fingers crossed, my next boss. I'm talking about the man, Don Idrees. Don, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me, Jake. Finally, we've figured out a time slot that works for both of us.
We did. Guys, you got to understand, this live won't go as long as I usually do because we've got about half an hour to just some hard-hitting questions for Don because he's a busy man. So really appreciate it.
Let me stop you right there. I mean, if we go over by 5-10 minutes, it's not the end of the world.
I know, but I just in case people are like wrapping up. I mean, you're a busy man, and everyone's just being awesome in the chat. Fox 8 Ball is saying ready bang. Everyone's there. Engen Terzi Satellite Truck says like the video. We'll get to that a little bit later on. Everyone just being awesome. Victor in the chat saying ready bang. Guys, just I love to have a bit of fun, but I just got to be a bit serious first with Don. Don, I'm reading something in the news. I don't want to say too many words, but it looks like you're getting a bit shafted to do with Segi, SEGI TV. I happen to read something. I don't like to start off with a bit of a sore thumb, but I've got to clear the air, Don. What is going on in the news?
I'm guessing you read one of the press releases that have been floating around.
I did. A bit of a judgment of 2.5 million
plus change. Yeah, plus change. All right, I'm going to keep it really short and concise, and I got to be very, very careful what I say because I get an earful from lawyers. Long story short, so we did the big Eddie and Thor fight in March 19th, and the plan was always to put it on pay-per-view, and in retrospect now I regret not doing that. But this company came along, and their model was streaming for free, and then they would sell advertising space. And after a very short process of negotiation, they agreed to pay a license fee of quite a substantial number, which made us think, all right, well, you know what? Let's not risk doing the pay-per-view, and this is guaranteed money. Let's do it. Signed the contracts, announced, and executed the fight. Overspent because we were kind of comfortable that this payment is coming in. And then after that began a long process of chasing them for the money that we never got. 3 months of listening to broken promises and lies and bullshit, and until it got to a point where we just couldn't deal with it anymore. So we filed a complaint in California court, and after which communication between our lawyers and their lawyers, and no solid attempt at like even suggesting a payment plan or paying a deposit or anything. So we just kept proceeding. We subpoenaed their bank records, and they had sent a proof of transfer to calm things down. And after we subpoenaed the bank records and checked with the bank, turns out that was a falsified document. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah, I lost my shit. And then basically what happened was, again, more bullshit from them. So we just kept moving forward until August 3rd. We got a default judgment in our favor for that amount. Plus every day it was late. There's some interest plus legal fees plus whatever. And still nothing from them. I'm like, you know what? This whole thing might just be a fucking big fat. I mean, we sued them for breach of contract and fraud, and we won the case.
Wow.
Now is the hard part. We're just collecting. So we put together a press release and we just announced it because there's a lot of people that have been burnt in this. And it's sad because, look, it's not our fault, but it's our responsibility. And there's a lot of people who are sitting and waiting to be paid. Look, the reason we've survived through COVID and through hard times is we have our company has we're a small company. We're not super capitalized, but we have an impeccable work ethic. And there's no scenario I can imagine where people won't get paid. But now we've been put in a position where we have to pay them out of the business and not quickly. That's going to take time. Everybody's going to get paid. Yeah. But it's just sad that you think you live in a world where a signed contract is sort of like a guarantee, but turns out you've been, people just screw you over. And this is a publicly traded company, by the way.
Oh,
this is not Mr. Magoo LLC. This is a publicly traded company, like with like 5 billion shares or some shit.
Wow.
Right? And so that's basically it. And the Twitter sphere is going crazy because they've got a lot of shareholders who are like, wait, what? Because they don't know anything. He said nothing. It's a bit of a mess. It's a bit of a mess. But that's that. I think our lawyers and us are going to do an open Zoom call for all the shareholders who want to jump in and ask their questions. But I can't do that call without the lawyers because
I can only imagine.
I don't get emotional about money, but I do get emotional and angry when somebody tries to screw with us or our people or our athletes, or because everybody worked really hard for a very long time to put that fight together. Yeah,
it was a great event. It was
57 million aggregate views in the first week.
Wow! Oh, it was phenomenal. It was phenomenal. I thought Big Loz did a good job as well, calling the action. I mean, yeah. Look, anyway. Big Loz is awesome. No, and I do appreciate that, Don. You bringing that story and just giving us like a small glimpse of a huge nugget behind the scenes, because us in the internet world, we can be very critical and quick to jump on something, and we'll get to streaming a little bit later on. But I think, just seeing the way you are, giving it your time, ensuring everyone gets paid, hopefully you win a few more arm wrestling fans over. So when they're ready to go, I'm writing off CoreSports or things like that, it's like, hey, look what he's doing behind the scenes, and you think you're getting shafted. Look what's happening to my man Don.
Well, you see, actually, a good segue into our business today, which is arm wrestling, is that during the course of basically me chasing for that payment and being promised to get paid, these guys were actually making plans with us for future content. And actually, one of the things on the table was they wanted to actually pay for the stream of King of the Table, a hefty license fee to put that up for free, because I told them it's one of our most popular, arm wrestling is one of our most popular content creating events, right? There may have even gone a tweet out from them, #King of the Table. I'm like, don't do that unless I want payment for that. You can't just start pumping your, so I dodged a bullet right there. But that they were sold on the arm wrestling, and they said, we'll take all 4 Kings of the Table for next year for a ridiculous amount of money. But I mean, it all just turned out to be bullshit. So which brings us to arm wrestling.
Yeah, well, my first question, Don, is why? First of all, thank you for picking one of the greatest sports ever. But why arm wrestling? So for those that don't know, CoreSports are heavily involved in boxing, strongman. I think you've dabbled in a bit of tennis at some stage.
Tennis. No, we did some MMA. We did strongman. We do strongman. We boxing, arm wrestling. We're trying to get into a couple of more things that we'll hopefully be announcing in the next couple of months. But
Ooh,
we
yes.
like stuff that has a loyal, nice fan base, and we like stuff that no one else is doing. And we do have a knack for sniffing out opportunity where there is an opportunity.
So how did you sniff out arm wrestling? Did you have someone come to you and go, Don, I found something over here. We've got these wacky bunch of lunatics that are holding hands, or have something you've kept an eye on?
So we have a very good relationship with Larry, right? So back in 2019, we actually brought Larry over to Dubai and sponsored a trip for us to train him into being the next strongman. We had this program going called the Strongman Incubator. So we'd pick talent from around the world and we'd bring them over to Dubai where they'd eat, sleep, and train strongman for a while, just to develop their career. So that's how I met Larry. And we've been friends ever since because he just never moved out of Dubai, right? Larry and Adam. That's how I met them. And we became friends over a while. But then during COVID, Larry, it's only because of Larry that I started getting exposed to what he was doing for arm wrestling. And it was great because I loved arm wrestling in school, but I never, possibly due to like basically ignorance or whatever, I never realized that there is such a loyal fan base out there, and then there's such a showmanship. So I started digging in, started doing some research, and I think just about right after COVID was towards its end, we just came up with the idea. We're like, hey, wait a minute. There's a match to be put together between Todd and Devin. Why don't we do this? Because us as a company, CoreSports, it has either we own or are partners with every moving part of an event. So we have our own inbound tourism and hospitality team. The deals from the hotels and the cars. We've got a fleet of cars to pick people up and drop them off. We own our own filming company. Right? We own our own streaming platform. We half own our lights and AV and all of that. We have our own operations team. We have our own social media team. We have our own copyright team. So everything you need to execute an event is all in-house, right? Yeah. So our job can literally be copy-paste for any sport. It's just that when we did King of the Table 1, I just stood there and I'm like, what the fuck have I been doing with all my life? Why haven't I not got into arm wrestling before? Because it just turned out to be like, forget about me. Like my job doesn't change no matter what the sport is, right? Yeah. But some events I like more than the others, right? And I fell in love with the arm wrestling community just because they're so loyal. They're very hardcore. They're very opinionated. You do not fuck with them. But there's such a beautiful crowd of people that they will market the event for you without you asking. They'll make memes. They'll make trailers. They'll publish news. They'll pay for things. So that's the kind of audience you need. And again, I said this on Bowen's video. Please, I'd like to thank all the arm wrestling fans for being who they are, because there's no other sport where you can, okay, you know how the movie Deadpool was made purely because of fan demand? Yeah. Yeah, because that movie studios shut it down. But it's the fans that kept egging it until it got made. The analogy I would use is similar for arm wrestling fans. It's a very fan-driven sport. There's not a lot of sponsors. There's not $1 million sponsorships hanging around. It is fan-driven. The fans are the biggest sponsors because they will pay if it's a reasonable amount, and if you're not taking the piss and trying to rip them off, they will pay for the pay-per-view. They'll buy the t-shirts. They'll buy the merch. They'll invest time. They'll reshare the stories. You announce something, everybody will give their opinion, but they will grow the sport because they love the sport so much. Yeah, they want it to be bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And no matter what the politics and the banging heads or whatever, none of that matters. The fans drive this, and it is a pleasure just to watch this happen, in my opinion.
Right? Yeah, it's pretty cool to hear that from your end, because a lot of the fans we bang our heads, and we it doesn't matter what side of the fence we sit on, whether you're this person fan or whatever, we just all want it to be mainstream. Yeah. We all want it to be the big time. So I would imagine a lot of us are very appreciative that when we turn around and we hear that this CoreSports is putting on events and putting on a pay-per-view, a lot of us don't mind buying the pay-per-view because it almost gives us a feeling that our sport is now important. So once CoreSports were doing pay-per-views, it was never, CoreSports are just trying to take our money. It was, we feel important because I grew up watching pro wrestling and UFC, and you paid to see the big events. And now I'm sitting here paying, whether it's $5, $10, $15, I don't care. I'm just like, yes, that's amazing. It's amazing. Yeah. Now our sport feels important. So you've had a huge influence in that.
Thank you. And it's kind of, I think we want to give the fans a sense of ownership as well, because already any arm wrestling fan acts and conducts themselves as if they own stock in the sport. I love it. Yeah. It's like arm wrestling is a big corporation and all the fans own a piece of it. That's how they act. That's how, and that's what you need, right? Yeah. Because if every fan, whether is a young boy in India or a pro 50-year experienced guy in Canada, it doesn't matter. They all have this sense of ownership that this is my sport, right? Yeah. It might be niche, but it's my niche. And again, it's a pleasure to see. Now, fans need to understand that pay-per-view has always historically been a business model for combat sports, right? Mm. Whether it's boxing, whether it's MMA, pro wrestling, whatever. We have no other major source of revenue. If we were sponsored by Nike, or if we had enough advertisers to advertise in the stream, we wouldn't have to go down the pay-per-view route. But since our fans are our biggest, it's only because the fans are paying that we are able to have more and more events. We're able to support. Next year we have 4 Kings of the Table lined up and 4 East versus West. That's 8 shows.
Oh, sexy, Don. Sexy. That's what we want to hear.
Yeah. So starting from January, you've got every 6 weeks, there's either East versus West or a King of the Table, right? That's a pretty busy arm wrestling thing, because, I mean, who else is doing shows at the moment? Nobody.
No, we've got Arm Wars and the Monster Factory. They're probably the big 4. And then everyone's running events, but coming ahead of the top 2, and you're involved in both, are King of the Table and East versus West. So to hear that there's going to be at least 8 events next year certainly brings a smile to my face. Sorry, love? You want me to ask Donnie if I should start packing my bags now? What for? What? We're live now, babe. Come on. Oh, sorry she asked that, Don.
We'll figure out a way. This is not the first time you've come up in discussions, or it's not the first time you've been suggested as a commentator, right?
Well, we will speak off camera because I'm just having a laugh about that. I definitely don't want to ambush her. But Atlanta says that Don looks like he has a decent-sized brachialis on the right arm. He must be a lifter or some sort. Give us a flex, Don. Give us a flex. Oh!
This is I got a funny story. Do you see this? I tore this bicep pulling Eddie and Thor apart in March.
Oh, really?
I tried to manufacture a run-in to promote the fight, but it got really, really ugly. It went totally off script. So I hadn't been to a gym in about a year and a half. So I grabbed Eddie from the back and I'm pulling him. And in my mind, I didn't think that he's a 160 kilo world's strongest man propelling forward. Yeah. And boom, it just ended up in my I've never torn a muscle. It just ended up like here. Oh. And I couldn't get surgery until after the show because the show was in 3 days. But yeah, luckily, good surgeon.
That's amazing. I remember watching that pull apart and I was like, that's not real. That's not real. I saw it escalate a bit and I was like, you've got 2 of the biggest dudes in all of his gym people, and 2 of the world's most strongest men can't power through. I was a bit like, oh, come on now. But that's all right. Dan, the Nightmare Swartz with a super chat. Thank you very much, Dan, you superstar. He says, thank you, Don. You've done a great job with partnering with great arm wrestling entities. Keep up the amazing work.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you so much.
Dan's pretty good. He's just working hard, which is really good. Victor wants to know, ask Don if they're going to invite John Brzenk to the upcoming King of the Table pay-per-views. We want to see the GOAT in action.
is this Victor Ekstorm, something like that? I think that's his name. Our social media team says the poor kid messages every day saying, I want to see John Brzenk. Victor, let me address it now. Yes, we do have plans for bringing in the GOAT back. It might not be this year, but we promise you we do have a plan for King of the Table 6, which will be next year, February. And it's going to be a match that is going to probably shock everyone. So in a good way. So stay tuned on that one.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, because he's pulled just about every month this year, and he's got a huge match coming up. So that makes a lot of sense. Now, with the events that have been going on, the streaming issues that you've had. Now, I can sit here as an Australian in Melbourne. Out of all the streams I've watched, I've only had maybe one or two little hiccups. So here in Australia, it seems to be pretty good. Last East versus West, crystal clear. It was magnificent. My question is probably more, one, do you know at the time that it's happening? And two, how does the team work behind the scenes? Like what happens when you just like when someone's in your ear going, Don, in Europe the streams dropped or it's cutting out or the frame rates are down?
I'm glad you asked that because I think this is a good opportunity to tell the fans, to explain what goes on. Like, okay, streaming it seems very simple, but it's a very, very expensive and complicated process. Not complicated like it's not rocket science, but there's so many moving parts. Okay. And we're not always in control of everything. What we can do from our side is, so there's the main parts of the stream are there's a streaming platform. Our streaming platform is exactly the same as the UFC's, right?
Yeah.
It costs hundreds of thousands of dollars of license fees every year. So that's already expensive to put up. The streaming platform, aside from the fact that we're still trying to work on getting PayPal as a payment option, aside from that, it's great. It can handle up to, I think we stress tested up to 5 million concurrencies. That's individual people, right? Now, during the stream, the biggest issue is the signal. Is the signal going out seamlessly? We had an issue in East versus West in the beginning because the internet was not stable.
Yeah.
So the changes that we made in East versus West 4, we're like, fuck the internet, let's get a satellite truck. And that's why it was uninterrupted, right? In Dubai, we have easier access to satellite trucks or easier access to stable internet, okay? So the Dubai signal isn't really always that big of a problem, okay? Now, problem number two that usually happens is different parts of the world. The thing is, our customer, how do I say this? Naturally, if you've paid for something, your first instinct when something's not working is never to check things on your side.
Yeah.
It's always to first. And I appreciate that in this day and age, you want an immediate response. But what happens is when we get blasted, it's if somebody messages the Instagram page and they don't get an immediate response, the same guy will message the Facebook Messenger and the same guy will email support team. So suddenly where it was 30 people, it seems like 90. Yeah. And then they take to the comment section. No one who's enjoying the stream will ever write a comment saying, by the way, I'm loving this. It's only the negativity. So our customer service team, they get overloaded. They're like, okay, we're trying to fix this problem. And sometimes 90% of the queries are, this is not working. This is shit. You guys are stealing our money. No, understandably so. Understandably so. This is a fraud. Fuck, it literally feels like an attack by brazen primates defecating in their midst and hurling feces at you. And our customer support, we're not 500 people in a call center. They're just sitting there saying, like, we're trying our best, but can you please refresh your browser? Can you please do this? Can you please do that? And 90% of the time, you'll see an angry thread. I'm never paying you any money again. Can you please do this? We're really sorry for the inconvenience. Oh, it's working now. Thank you for the reply. That's 90% of the time.
Okay.
dissatisfaction and refund rate has consistently been under 2%.
Oh, nice.
Now, I'm anal retentive. I'm not happy with the 2%. I want it to be 0%.
Yeah.
Okay. So sometimes issues happen. We're not as powerful as YouTube. So when a live stream ends, it takes a couple of hours for buffering and processing. So the replay isn't available immediately. Sometimes it takes 4 hours. So people get angry that I paid for it. Now I can't watch it. So that's a whole other flurry of questions. Now, whatever hiccups we've encountered along the way, I asked the team never to come out and guarantee that it's going to be, all we can do is get better, is try and get better. And I think sometimes it's a staffing issue, by the way, sometimes because we have to outsource staff. Sometimes the replay guy isn't our usual guy and the replays aren't up to par. Like there's so many different things that could go. One of the events we had, the cameraman hadn't eaten in 12 hours and he passed out.
Oh, no.
Okay? So we had to miss out on a very, very important camera angle where he got taken to get some sugar in him. See, the viewer doesn't see any of that, right? Oh, why is this shot static? Why aren't they changing cameras? One time our director fainted. Like there's so many little things that people don't know about, but at the time it feels like everything's on fire, right?
Wow.
Now, I think from a streaming perspective, and the fans can have their say in this, East versus West 5 and the Levan Devin King of the Table 4.
Yeah.
I think those two, from a stream perspective, we had almost no complaints. Yeah, some people weren't able to log in King of the Table 4, but remember, King of the Table 4 did crazy numbers. And everybody, the thing is, it's a request to fans that maybe try to buy the pay-per-view early, but everybody buys it in the last hour. So
as soon as it's released, I buy it, I
That's
buy
what I do.
maybe 10 or 15 of them, and I help people who can't watch it, and I'll pass that on. But I mean, Chan Shaw, someone who'd love to pull a King of the Table, says, "What numbers did King of the Table 4 do?"
A lot.
I don't know if we can. A lot. World record numbers, Chance. You cheeky bugger.
Let me say this. Here's what I can say comfortably. Because pay-per-view, I think WAL, we love WAL, by the way, and we have an excellent relationship with Steve Kaplan. He's probably, I can safely say he's probably one of the best people to do business with that I've met in the last couple of years. He's just an amazing dude, right? But they work more on the broadcast side. I think pay-per-view wise, nobody's really done it to our magnitude. So look at it this way. The Devin versus Todd, King of the Table 1, broke all pay-per-view records in arm wrestling.
Yeah.
And King of the Table 4, Levan versus Devin, did twice that.
Only twice. I would have thought it would have. The numbers that I've got rolling in my head, we might play a guessing game offline, but there we go there. And if this is the Hermes Gasparini, if he's really in the chat, I've had him on the show, and you've had him at King of the Table. Hopefully it's him. If it is, if it's not, oh well, he got on the screen. Sorry, all the comments are flying, absolutely flying.
Any more questions about the stream I address? We do apologize. Please, fans, understand none of your emails or your queries or your complaints go unnoticed, right? So if the response time is a bit slow, it's because it's sometimes impossible to catch up, right?
Yeah.
All your comments are always taken into account, and we try our best. We endeavor to improve every single stream. And it's just keep giving us your feedback and say, okay, I would prefer it if this, I'd prefer it if that. If there's a technical issue, usually we try to fix it midstream. Like sometimes we know during the stream, I'll give you an example of East versus West 3.
Yes.
There was a big thing about the Matt Mask match. So what happened was we had tested the internet at the venue. Right? And people started blasting Engen. I'm like, it's not Engen's fault. Engen did nothing wrong. Yeah. The internet at the venue was stable during the test, and then it just dropped midstream. Boom.
Wow.
So nobody noticed. But what we had to do is we had to pause and restart the stream. and that intermission, the stream will be back soon, whatever, because it was doing that was better than the stream going like that and people's just losing their shit, right? And I asked the guys, I'm like, if you can upload the mat mask separately afterwards, that would be great. But that was a venue that was kind of like a force majeure situation, like an act of God. It was like the venue, but we thought on our feet, and I'm like, guys, you've got 6 minutes to fix this. That's a commercial break. I don't care how it's done. And sometimes we do have to pull rabbits out of our ass to make sure the viewer gets the seamless experience. But it's doesn't mean that we let it go. Every time we aim to improve and improve and improve and improve.
Oh, yeah.
So thank you for being patient with us, everyone.
And I think everyone can see that as well. I mean, I certainly have seen it since you first come on board. Like every time it's like better and better. And I don't know if it's, you guys have always been accessible for me. I know when I've messaged like the Instagram page, 9 times out of 10, I'll get a reply or an acknowledgement that you've read it. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think you guys are doing a fantastic job and always have. And it's going to be, I think, when you're saying going back to people throwing feces at the wall, because I get it when I'm like doing a bit of commentary. Everyone's like, it's not working. And then I'm thinking like, well, have you tried anything, guys? Have you tried just closing it and getting back into it? So during the Matt Mask Prudnik thing, the one thing I did like was on the screen, it said the stream will come back soon. So then I don't know if I think differently, but I knew then the match had stopped. So I knew the match wasn't going whilst we were missing it. And you guys were trying to fix it. So for me, I was just like, beauty.
But see, the thing is, just to be clear, I'm sure you of all people would understand this. Disgruntled fans on social media, it can feel quite like it takes the wind out of you, even if it's only 20 people just blasting you. You're like, oh my God, this is so overwhelming. How am I going to fix this? Because you want to help everyone and you want to tell everyone, I hear you, but I only have 4 staff members and they can't address all of you immediately, So it feels like a lynch mob. And you're like, no. Like people are crying, saying, I can't handle this. So it's the first time we did a live stream, maybe 2019, I think it was. Jesus. We did not have a customer support staff. We had 2 people on their phones.
Oh,
like a social media attack of disgruntled people can feel. Oh my God. But hey, listen, it's part of the game.
We roll on, and you've been dominating. But speaking of lynch mobs, you created one of the best arm wrestling divides in the world, and you brought us the biggest match. I believe, and a lot of us believe, the biggest match of all time, and that was Devin versus Levan Saganishvili. Before we get into the actual event, who out of the CoreSports team and the King of the Table team, who is the one making the matches and organizing the matches?
So when it comes to arm wrestling knowledge and all things arm wrestling and specifically matchmaking, it's primarily Adam.
Yep.
He's the man to speak with. Him and I will bump heads at times because he's an arm wrestling fan and I have to look at it from a disconnected promoter perspective. Yeah. So I'll have to sometimes jump in and say like, I know, but I don't think we're going to sell that, or that's going to be hard to sell, or that's going to be difficult. Oh, we don't have the budget for this, or we don't have the budget for that. But rules, arm wrestling, and Adam's a great matchmaker, by the way. He just like
great guy as well.
I'd be shit at it. If it was up to me, I would only do hype matches. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. So you need the likes of like Adam. I call him the CEO of arm wrestling. That's just me. That's just me. He gets all shy and he's lovely, but he is the man to speak to about matchmaking.
Yeah.
And anything to do with the rules. I can suggest, I'm like, hey, it sounds like these two are having a bit of a this, or we can put a spin on this and make it a hypeable match. And then he brings me down to reality and says, no, that's not going to work because this guy's coming off of 2 losses. That guy's coming off of 3 losses, things like that. Yeah.
There you go. Well, with the Devin versus Levan matchup, I mean, it was unreal. The atmosphere was electric. I couldn't get over there. I was wanting to get over there. But yeah, things were happening back here in Australia. Were you disappointed at all at the end results? As in, not in the production value, but the fact Devin got hurt round 2 when it was a clean sweep and Levan just steamrolled him. Were you disappointed at all? Or at the end of the day, did you all sit there and went, that's just sport, that's just unlucky? You know, it's like getting a knockout in the main event in 10 seconds.
Yeah, no, I don't think, I mean, I wasn't disappointed. It was more like, because Devin and I are friends, right?
Yeah.
And I didn't know which way one match, like the match is going to go, which way or another. But I felt for Devin.
Yeah.
I was disappointed in a couple of things from the event that didn't go the way I want them to. You don't want to hear any of that. There was something to do with the screens and the lights and the special effects. But aside from that, usually 99% of the time, I don't even watch our shows. I'm off doing somewhere else.
You're probably too busy.
No, even if I'm not, I kind of don't watch it. I'll watch it later, rip it a new asshole so we can do better next time, right? But that match, everything was nicely set up. The team, everything was just falling into place. And I actually watched the first couple of rounds, and then I couldn't watch it anymore. I'm like, I can't. It was it got a little bit emotional because Devin and I are really close, and we've developed a great friendship over the last year. And I'm like, and it was immediately. I'm like, even Devin knows that Levan is just a whole other level. But and that's, I think he has that mentality. He's like, okay, I've bitten off more than I can chew because this guy is like maybe an alien invasion with some kind of freak of nature arrives from Mars or Saturn or whatever. But
it's definitely too good for this planet. Too strong for this planet. That's for sure. Levan is just unreal. Have you got any plans on getting Levan back? Any matches at all?
Yes, but I can't say yet.
Well, the answer is yes. We can just sit here awkwardly silent, Don, until you tell us when you...
Not at King of the Table 5, not the one on October 1st, but hopefully in the one straight after. But these announcements will be made before the end of the year, so everybody will know what next year's tentative schedule is going to look like.
Speaking of announcements, there was I reckon a bit of a mistake at your King of the Table 5.
I got your video. That was not a mistake. So what happened was we put the license in the back end. We set it up because you have to set it up in the back end, and we go on sale like quietly without making an official announcement.
Yeah.
Right. The official announcement, we had agreed that we're going to wait until East versus West is over so that, the attention doesn't get taken away. So it wasn't a mistake. It was just always there in the back end. But I think the team didn't realize that when you go in the checkout flow, when you're making a purchase, it appears there. And when you can see the whole card. Right.
Yeah.
So, but maybe it's my fault because I'm just an old dude. I don't take into account YouTube and how quickly the internet picks up on things. And I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake, man. Everybody knows. And we didn't get to make a proper official announcement. But, that was not a mistake. We always have the next show on sale already. We just have to be a little bit more careful next time.
Because I just remember waking up and I reckon about 20 people messaged me. They screenshotted it. About 20 people. And they're like, Aussie, have you heard this? You're going to make a video. Let's talk about it. I was like, well, if all of you guys know. And I looked around. So I looked at Adam Silver's page, CoreSports page, and there was nothing there. So I thought I'll go out and do it. And then Adam and I spoke privately. And I thought, oh, no, what have I done? Like Adam's like, oh, man, I wish you spoke to me first. And then explained to him like I'm saying to you. I said, oh, but it's on your website and everyone messaged me. He's like, oh, okay, cool. No worries. And I thought, oh, no, don't tell me I'm in the bad books with CoreSports, the King of the Table. Thought,
no. Not at all. And there will be, I promise you, there will be a couple of more announcements regarding that card. There's enough meat on the bone for... Trust me, within the next 4 or 5 days, there'll be a few more announcements.
Well, that was going to be my next question because on the thing, there was the 3 matches that 3 awesome matches, and the fact that an Australian's on the King of the Table card. Well, of course, I'm even bloody doubly pumped about with Lachlan Adair.
Yeah.
But then it said, and more. And so we are going to get and more.
Yes.
Yes.
At least one more match. We're working on having 2 more matches, but at least one more match. I cannot say what or even confirm that there will be another match today because there's still we're pretty strict with our contracts unless everything is signed and sealed. But I would say by the 18th, 19th of August, we'll be able to make those announcements. Yeah.
Ooh,
it's going to be a good card. It's going to be fun.
Well, I'll be setting my alarms. Oh, guys, we've got about 40 minutes. So I just want to play a quick game and some fire questions, and then Don will have to shoot off. Don, I play a game with everyone that comes on the show. It's called Pin One, Lose One, Get Rid of One. I'm going to give you the name of 3 pullers, and you've got to tell me which one you're going to pin in a match, which one you're going to lose to in a match, and which one you are banning from CoreSports for 12 months. They're not allowed on any King of the Table cards.
Okay.
So pretty basic.
This is all fantasy, right? You're not expecting me to actually believe that I'm going to...
No. This is all just fun. Just quickly, Josh says he loves listening to Don. You should definitely have him on as much as possible. Don is always welcome on the show. Chan Shaw's hustling, which I love. Says, tell Don he can get my number from Adam.
Done, Chance, done. And it was great meeting you in Turkey, by the way.
Ah, that's good. And my man saying, is anyone getting Kai Green vibes from Don? There you go. They don't.
I've heard that one before.
Henry says, Don, blink twice if Levan is facing the winner of Jerry versus Ermies at King of the Table, 6 or 7. No, there we go. Now, when Don's ready to release it, the Aussie ArmWrestler will be all over it, so don't worry about that. All right, back to the game. The 3 names, John Brzenk, Levan Saganishvili, and Devin Larratt. You got to pin one. You got to lose one. Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to lose to Levan.
You got to lose to Levan.
Yeah. I would pin Devin as long as I use both hands and he uses his left. Fuck his party arm.
Have you just banned the GOAT? You have just banned John Brzenk.
That's terrible. That is terrible. These choices are horrible. I can't ban any of these 3. No.
Oh, here we go. John just butted us up, and I'm looking at you, Victor. He said we're going to get John, but we got to wait till 2020. No, that's the fun of the game. That's just
I can't ban the GOAT. You can't ban GOATs. Man, this is not as easy a game as it sounds. Like, fuck.
Yeah. That's all the reaction I'm after. That's all the reaction. You get a pass because you've helped the
Sorry, John. Sorry, John. I'll never ban you.
Some quick fire questions. Questions. No thinking. Let's just answer them. Don, do you prefer super matches or tournaments when it comes to arm wrestling?
Super matches.
Are you a fan of the King's Move?
I don't care much for it. I didn't even know what it was until like a couple of weeks ago. You're asking the wrong guy. Yeah. The one that when you like is that the one?
That one, yeah. The Michael Todd. He's the best at it. Do you prefer strongman or arm wrestling to do yourself?
To myself?
Yeah.
It would be strongman because it's
strongman?
More of a whole body thing. I mean, I'm in my like mid 40s, so I gotta watch out for I gotta look at the whole body instead of just
having one giant arm like Devin.
Plus, I mean, I'm kind of like gimpy on one side. I've got one eye and one torn bicep, so it's maybe I should switch to a unilateral sport. I don't know.
Mate, we'll have you. Well, if you look what you've done behind the scenes, let's get you on the table.
Tennis and arm wrestling.
Mate, we'll have you. Do you prefer free to air or pay-per-view?
Pay-per-view. Oh, wait, for myself to watch or for myself to sell? For myself to watch, pay-per-view. I would prefer pay-per-view. I'd prefer pay-per-view because as long as it's not taking the piss. If it's for a niche sport, if it's for a growing sport, then at least I know that the money that is going to the benefit of the growth of the sport. Also, you expect a certain quality when you pay for something.
Yeah.
Free, people will still bitch about it, but you don't really have much of a right to bitch about free shit as much as you do when you paid for something. So I'd rather pay for something so I can complain from a place of, superiority. Like, I paid for
your
this,
high horse.
Exactly.
Up there on the high horse. What a view it is from up there. Have you
ground.
Have you ever jumped on an arm wrestling table?
Have I ever what?
Have you jumped on it, like been on an arm wrestling table and done some pulling yourself?
No. Back in school, I mean, the first level of like establishing dominance was always arm wrestling at the school desk, and if you couldn't settle your differences, you'd beat the shit out of each other at the parking lot. But I was never very good at it because I've got, like, historically I've got rotator cuff problems, so probably really shit technique or whatever. But I mean, I've played around at the arm wrestling table, but I've never actually had a proper go.
There you
go. Like the worst promoter of the sport ever, right? I know nothing about the sport. You're getting no answers.
No, I'm getting great answers. Don't worry about that. Mate, it doesn't matter what the answers are. As long as they're honest, then the Aussie arm wrestlers are up and about. That is for sure. Which arm wrestler would you like to come over and do strongman?
Levan.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to see how Levan would do in strongman. Levan and it's pretty much Levan. Gennady, maybe that would be interesting.
Yeah, that's a good answer. Yeah, Gennady, absolutely. And then which strongman would you like to come over to arm wrestling?
Lawrence Shawley, Iron Bibby, Mark Felix. All these just naturally strong units, Laws is actually doing some arm wrestling. I think he's got some kind of show match with Rob Frampton, I think.
Yeah, no, he's in the same bracket. So Big Loz is pulling a guy named James Beach, and Rob Frampton's pulling my mate Uncle John, and then the winner's going to the final. But Big Loz will be on the show in a couple of weeks. And Don, we need to get your impersonation of the number one catchphrase in arm wrestling, and that is "Ready, bang!"
Okay. Do I have to do it in an Australian accent?
It'd probably be better if you did.
I really, it's the one accent I really suck at, right? So say it again. Is it ready, bang? Is it like that?
Ready, bang. Yeah.
What's the arm gesture, if you can help me with that one more time?
I don't know. It just naturally comes. You just pull it down. Ready, bang.
Okay. Ready, bang.
There it is. Really appreciate it, guys. If you can, as you can see, when the greatest female arm wrestler of all time is in the chat, Gabriela Vasconcelos. She's a dead set super saiyan. You had an absolute banger with her and Sarah. Hopefully there's more repeats of that. She says hello in the chat. Guys, you see here, you've got the CEO of CoreSports, and as you can see, he's an absolute dead set legend, and he's just been raw and honest with some of the behind the scenes stuff. Even told us that a fight was fake in the Thor and Eddie lead up. That's what I mean. So he doesn't lie. He's listening to what the fans are saying. So please, if you know anyone that is trying to take an Amber Heard on CoreSports, let's start defending it, because you can see he's given up his time. Very busy man, and he's coming and he's doing so much. 8 events next year, and he's still got to finish off King of the Table 5 in October, and then East versus West in November. So he's got 10 more events by not this Christmas, next Christmas. So if everyone could just let everyone know that Don's awesome and CoreSports are doing a great thing. Don, I really, really appreciate you coming on the show.
Thank you for having me, Jake. Thank you so much. Thank you, guys. Thank all the fans once again. Thank you for being just the way you are. And thank you for loving the sport so much.
We appreciate
thank you,
it.
Gabby.
Live in about 9 hours after the fix. It's good to see that the best in the world are coming on the show. And Don and I will see you next time.